Tom Farmer's
there he
here.
is.
Good
Hello.
morning. Good morning.
Tom's the chairperson of the Frankfort Flag Initiative. Your second visit with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I would be remiss. I must first point out that among my many other things that I like to get involved in, I am also one of the coordinators of the Triple Crown on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So Dr. Ellie Haskin-Wagner and I from the Capital City Museum are going to be putting on the Triple Crown component, which is the Pedal for the Posies,
Right.
sponsored by Walk Bike Frankfurt. And then
The bounce.
the bouncy horses, which is very popular, and then the bourbon ball eating contest. So
Oh my gosh.
make sure you all go out. You can go to the DFI website or
Yep.
the Facebook page
Yep.
or Capital City Museum, and you can sign up to be a team in the Triple Crown.
Okay.
And you'll see me in a referee shirt with Dr. Ellie.
Okay.
And we'll be having a great time.
Well, I'm going to be one of the judges.
Okay. That's
So,
good.
If you're there Saturday and you, especially if you're on a team and you have a lot of spirit, come see me because I might give you a little extra.
All right.
We're doing most spirited team, right?
Very good.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for having me again.
Yeah,
And yeah, we wanted
absolutely.
to stop back in and visit with you now
Get an
that we're
update.
getting towards the end of our idea submission period.
Okay.
How's it
well,
going?
It's going pretty well, actually. I'm quite impressed with some of the ideas that citizens and residents of Franklin County have been giving us.
Have they run the gamut?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the
Imagine.
whole idea
Yeah.
is when people asked me around town, and even Mayor Wilkerson, every time he sees me, he's like, what's that flag going to look like? And I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And he says, what? And I'm like, I have no idea. It's not up to me.
Right.
And that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be up to me. It should be up to the people of Frankfort. And so we're getting a lot of really good ideas. We've got a great committee who's going to be reviewing them over the
Okay.
course of the summer. But the key thing is that the submission period ends on May 4th, which is Derby Day. I thought
Okay.
that kind of fit pretty well.
Sure.
So make sure you get those submissions in at frankfortflag.org.
Okay, so for people who they may be going, what now? What's going on? Can you give us just a little background and then kind of what the
Right, yeah, let's
process has
set it back
been and
up.
what it's going to be?
Absolutely. We'll give you the
Yeah.
recap here.
Yeah.
So I'm Tom Farmer, as I said, chairperson of the Frankfort Flag Initiative. And one of the key things we're trying to do is, or the key thing we're trying to do, sorry, I got caught in my words. We want to develop an updated, upgraded, enhanced flag for the city of Frankfort. Most folks in Frankfort don't know we have a city flag, and we think there's a reason for that.
Oh,
which
is that it?
You can see it right there. And the thing is we understand it was designed by a committee in 1959. They tried to do their best to pay homage to the history of Frankfurt, and they did a pretty good job.
The river running through it? That's
Yeah,
what that is,
absolutely.
right?
There's a lot of elements
Yeah.
they were,
Okay.
Yeah, they tried to put a lot
Old
on
capital,
it.
new capital.
And the key thing for us is
Blue and
that
gray?
somewhere along, yeah, the blue and the gray, for a reason, somewhere along the line in the United States, I think we kind of forgot what flags are supposed to be. And we forgot that flags are meant to be things that fly on flagpoles. So when people see flag designs today, for cities especially, they end up seeing them hanging on a wall behind a city commission desk or like hanging from a rafter or something like that. And so they see it static
As like a banner.
as a banner or a logo.
Yeah.
They think of a flag as a logo. But a flag is meant to be something flown outside,
Yeah.
and the key purpose of a flag is to be recognizable from long ways
Right.
away.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do, is take a flag that honors that current flag, honors the history and people of Frankfurt, the geography, but does so in a more flag-like way. And we're trying to stick to the 5 rules. And there's an organization called NAVA that is not an official, like they're not the judges of all flags in the world, but they are a collection of experts. There are actually vexillologists, flag experts, who sat down and wrote out these rules. So they said, number 1, try to keep it simple, because if you try to put too much on a flag,
Sure.
then it defeats the purpose of being able to walk a football field away and actually see
go,
the
"Hey,
things
that's
on
the
it.
Frankfurt flag.
So if you put a tiny little, artistic line drawing on a flag, as soon as you walk half a football field away, it
Yeah.
doesn't do you any good anymore. And the other key thing is meaningful. And that one's probably the most obvious is, you don't want a flag that has
Right.
a picture of a cat on it if your city doesn't really have anything to do with cats. Right? That's a pretty bad example, but you get the idea. And then the colors thing, think about it this way. The more colors you put on, the less space you have to put those colors on. And once again, you get into that trap of not being able to see things from far away. And here's the one that folks don't really understand right off the bat is no seals or characters. And a lot of cities in the United States take their city seal, slap it on a white flag, and call
Yeah.
it their flag.
Yeah.
And in the flag community, that's called seal on a bed sheet. And it's one thing you want to try to avoid because seals are very articulate, very fine line drawings with all these little details and everything like that. And once again, the second you step a football field away, then you're not going to be able to understand that anymore. And then the final rule is also kind of one that's a little bit obvious, which is be distinct or be distinctively related. And what that means is, I'll give you an example. Someone on Facebook suggested, well, why don't we just make the American flag the flag of Frankfurt?
Oh.
And I said...
Because it's the American
Yeah,
flag.
I was like, that's a great flag. The American flag is a well-designed flag, but it's kind of already taken, right?
Yeah.
But an example of what you can do with that is the country of Liberia, which was founded by freed slaves who went back and were given their own territory. Their flag looks a whole lot like the American flag, except it has one giant star up in the top left.
Gotcha.
And the reason being is they're paying homage to the United States, who gave them that territory.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and
So
you're sorry, and I can think of other countries where you like take the Union Jack and make it smaller up in the corner. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Australia, New Zealand, all
Right.
the old Commonwealth
Yeah.
territories.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but what you don't want to do is just copy another
Yeah.
flag, which, again, nothing against the U.S. flag. I like the U.S. flag,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of already taken.
Yeah, it seems like
got a
that would be
purpose.
confusing.
Yeah. And so the thing is we're not the only folks who are doing this. There's lots of other cities around the country who have been doing this over the past decade. Syracuse, New York is one of them, and Andrew Frazier is my counterpart up in Syracuse. He was kind enough to share a lot of information with me. So you can see the flag with the blue stripes and the white and the seal in the center. Again, they took their city seal and slapped it in the middle of the flag. Now think about if you step away from that flag and imagine it's flying on a flagpole outside,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to tell any of those little details within that city seal. So what's its purpose? What is it? What purpose does it serve?
Yeah.
So you can see the new flag on the right. Now, this is a key thing, and also the runners up. The key thing is people think, and this is kind of the mistake that the original flag committee made in 1959, is once you start trying to represent a lot of things, you end up trying to put everything on the
Everything,
flag.
yeah.
And then you get into this situation where you think you have to keep putting more and more things on because you don't want to exclude
Right,
certain
yeah.
people. So the simple rule, which is the key rule, is the best rule, which is you don't have to be complicated to express complex thought.
Right.
So on the Syracuse flag, it looks like 3 triangles, blue, white, blue. Those 2 triangles on the left and right represent the valley within which Syracuse sits. And then the
Nice.
star is rising up over the valley. And then the
Okay.
colors have meaning. The Onondaga Lake is very close to Syracuse. The white is because it was a salt refining hub. And then the blue, I believe, the dark blue pays homage to the Iroquois Confederacy, the Onondaga tribe that lived there, previous to the European settlers. So again, 3 triangles of varying colors with the star rising over them. And the 6 points on the star represent the 6 names that the city has had over the course of history.
there.
So you don't have to put a whole bunch of stuff on a flag. You can do very simple designs and have encoded within them very complex thought. And the thing is you can do that, but at the same time, you can take that flag, put it on a flagpole, and it's very visible, very distinctive, very easy to recognize from far away, which is
Yeah.
what you're going for.
Yeah.
I think you've also got, which I'm very excited about, some top-ranked flags and some. I'm even more excited about the bottom-ranked flags. But
Right.
Yeah.
So these are the top 8 city flags in the United States, as ranked by that organization I mentioned, NAVA, North American Vexillological Association, which is always a tongue twister, but we get it out. But you can see the one thing that all of these flags have in common is incredibly simple abstract. Right. So like St. Louis is probably one of my favorite city flags. It's got the fleur-de-lis because it's St. Louis, who is Louis VIII, King of France.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You've got the Mississippi, Missouri rivers. And that says a lot.
Yes.
It tells you about the history and the geography all at the same time. Chicago is one of the ones that flag folks really focus on because you've got what seems like a very simple thing, but there are 36 pieces of information encoded within that flag because the 4 stars represent 4 different components of the city, and the 6 points on each star represent 6 components of each of those 4 points. Now, the thing is people think, well, I wouldn't have gotten that if I just looked at that flag.
Yeah.
And you say, well, if aliens from Pluto came down and visited the United States and looked at the American flag, would they understand what the stripes meant?
Right.
So you don't have to immediately have to look at a
Sure.
flag and just
Yeah.
automatically understand what it
Right.
means.
Right.
You can be told, and once you're told, then it makes a lot more sense.
Right.
So those are the top 8, and the bottom 8 will get you a perspective on what we're trying to avoid. So this
Provo,
is
nice.
Yeah, Provo just said let's just do some MS probably Microsoft Word. Somebody just slapped that on there with word art.
It looks like a brand of dish detergent.
And Pocatello is the one that actually kind of launched the flag movement over the past decade, is because a very famous podcaster and guy who does TED Talks with a big following did a thing about Pocatello specifically and ripped on it so hard that a lot of people decided, hey, we probably have a city flag. Now, this is 143 through 150. I am chagrined to say that Frankfort barely missed this. We were 140th.
Okay.
Oh,
So we're not that far
All right.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, again, folks will say, well, what's wrong with that? I don't understand. What is a flag supposed to be for?
Yeah.
Put it on a flagpole, recognize it from far away. This flag, the current city flag, hanging, behind a table, okay, I can see it, I can understand it, but imagine hanging it on one side of an NFL training complex, right?
Yeah.
And I walk to the other side. Am I going to be able to see all those little details on there? Probably not.
Yeah.
So there are more simple, abstract ways that we can represent the same elements. In other words, we're not trying to erase things or eliminate things just because we feel like it. It's more, no, we can do a better job of designing the flag so that more people are willing to adopt it and fly it around town, which is our primary goal.
Right. So let me ask you this. So do you have in your mind what it should look like?
Oh, absolutely. But that's why I did things the way I did it, is
Yeah.
because it shouldn't be just up to me.
Yeah.
I have a 7-person committee that has high school students, historians, artists, teachers. They're going to be responsible for judging all the things. But somebody asked me, so Tom, you just kind of came up with this out of the blue, huh? And I said, well, not really. I was sitting at my house one evening and had maybe more than one glass of bourbon and said, I wonder what Frankfort's flag looks like. And I looked it up and I was like, I want to do something about that. So
Yes.
that was the genesis of the Frankfort Flag Initiative, which
Gotcha.
a lot of great Tom ideas come from a couple glasses of bourbon. The first thing I did was draw what I thought might look good. But then the second thing I did is said, it's not up to me. It's up to the people of Frankfort, which is why
Right.
we're doing things the way we're doing them.
Okay. So do you consider yourself a vexillological expert?
I think since I don't think there are any actual vexillology degree programs in the
Okay.
country, I think if you just say I'm a vexillologist, it counts.
Yes.
But I will say that even before this, but also mainly during this, I've done a lot of work studying flags, trying to
Yeah.
get to understand all the elements. And so I'd say I'm definitely an amateur vexillologist
Yeah.
for sure.
Vexillologist.
So this
I have
Saturday,
so learned a new word.
it's a good one.
It is a great one.
So this Saturday is the last day to submit. Derby Day. So you got 3 days to get in. If people have been thinking I should do that, and you've got one in your head, now's the time. If they want to submit, how do they do that?
Oh, they can do it a few ways. They can go down to the Capital City Museum itself. They can go to Paul Sawyer Library as well, and there are boxes with templates they can fill out manually. So if you're not a computer savvy person,
Okay.
you can go down and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep.
But if folks want to do it online, which is probably the easiest way, frankfortflag.org. We got a lot of links. We got a submission form. We got templates. There's a page on the website that says, well, if you're kind of stuck on what you should put on the flag, here's a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
The design elements that I mentioned, there's a whole thing with a presentation that you can read through that says, here's what to avoid, here's what you want to go for. So lots of information. And again, you don't have to be an artist. In fact, sometimes that can be a detriment because you try to be artistic, right?
Right. You don't want to be.
This is about abstraction and it's about the ideas. If you're not a professional and you're like, oh man, I can't do a fancy drawing. That's not what I'm after.
Yeah.
I want what you think should be on it.
Yeah.
And then I have a cadre of folks who are going to take those and professionalize them and make them
Right.
legit.
Okay.
And just like you, and just to remind everybody, you told us this is the first time you came. It's not an art contest. There's not necessarily going to be a winner. Like this is the one that wins, and you get the prize. So
Right.
it's as soon as you submit, you're part of a team effort. And
Exactly.
Your design will inform the rest of the process. You could have things
I like
taken
this
from yours.
idea
and-
from that.
Right.
I like this
Could
idea
be.
from this. That would be good.
And that's the
Yeah.
purpose of the committee.
Okay.
The committee, I've spent a lot of time, and I'm sure they're tired of me at this point, training them to understand good, bad, indifferent, whatever. So their job is going to be to say, maybe they might say they look at one design and they're like, oh my God, I love that. That's the best. And just take that. Or they might say, well, this element on this flag and this element on this flag work really well together, so I'm going to put them together.
Yeah. If somebody comes really close to nailing it, is it a possibility to go back to that person and say, hey, we were thinking this, or would you be interested in tweaking, like if this person clearly has some design chops, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's a big part of it is, number one, city flags automatically enter the public domain. They don't belong to the city. They don't belong to Tom. They belong to Frankfort, and
Right.
Frankfort is everybody, right?
Right.
So when you submit a design, you're entering it into the public domain, which means that technically I could take it and do whatever I want to with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But we don't play the game that way. So exactly what you said, which is when we get ideas, if we're like, this is really close, but if we changed it a little bit or did this, and we're actually connected with that national organization who are consulting us,
Okay.
and the experts from the national organization will say, well, I may not know a lot about Frankfurt, but I know about flag design, and if you made this a little wider, or
I
made that
see.
a little bigger, or changed this color to this color, so yeah, that's going to be a big part of it too.
Okay.
Letting people contribute their strengths
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
to get something done.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
One thing I'm certain of is at the end of this, we won't be ranked 140th anymore.
That's right.
We're gonna take a huge jump.
That's the idea. That's part of the idea. Elizabeth Pulliam, she's a Franklin County senior. She's on my committee. Actually, she asked a very important question in our very first meeting, which demonstrated I had picked well in my committee members. She said, is our goal to make NAVA happy? In other words, is our goal to have a top 10 NAVA ranked flag? And I said, absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
That's not the goal. Our goal is to make a great flag for the people of Frankfurt.
That people here are happy
Now, of course,
with. Yeah.
from Tom's perspective, if those things
probably
coincide,
coincide, yeah.
that
Right.
would be the best.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, we're not out to make those people in Seattle or Portland or anywhere happy.
It's hard to make those people happy,
it-
by the way.
my
Tom.
sister lives in Beaverton, Oregon. Believe me, I know. But no, they're actually a great set of people.
Yeah.
They're as objective as they possibly can be, which is why we'll be utilizing them in that regard. But we're looking forward to it. We want to get those ideas in. Again, got to get them done in by Saturday, end of day Saturday, so like midnight Saturday.
Wow.
And we're happy about it, and we're looking forward to this summer. Well, we'll start tearing these down.
Tom, do you have any children's stories that you just had to comment on before you get out of here?
My favorite was the star-bellied Sneetches.
Star-bellied Sneetches.
Sylvester McMonkey McBean, and he brought in the Star Machine,
Oh,
and
my
it was a parable on racism,
Okay.
of course, Dr. Seuss, and he would run the Sneetches through the machine and put stars on half their bellies, and then the ones who didn't have stars on their bellies got really upset, and so he would make them pay him to run them through the machine, but then by that time, the guys with stars on their bellies had changed and took the stars off, and then he had this Sylvester McMonkey McBean had this, racket going where he constantly had Sneetches going through the machine because they hated each other for being different from one another. And so that's my favorite children's story.
Who wrote
Wow.
that?
It's Dr. Seuss.
Really?
Yeah.
Complicated guy.
Very interesting.
Complicated.
dude.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of people who, you've had books taken off the shelf because they felt like they had elements of racism. But like you said, this story, so, anyway, so
There's products of the time, and
Right.
some of those don't belong in our time,
Right.
which is understandable. But at the same
you can't-
time, his core philosophy, like the Lorax, things like that.
you can't judge a man based on
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry
Anyway.
to take way off topic there.
No,
I
it's
just heard.
okay.
I was just listening to a podcast the other day.
I
They were
think
talking
when I
about
was a
Dr.
kid, I
Seuss.
just really liked Sylvester McMonkey McBean. I didn't like
And I
him
don't
as
know
a
that one.
person.
Yeah.
Like he was the bad guy in the story, but just the name,
Yeah.
like that fascinated me.
I'm gonna look it up because
Star-bellied Sneetches.
Very good. I hadn't heard that one.